Good morning. This is the view just outside my kitchen window. We're going to take a little walk through the front garden. Hummingbird feeders. I haven't had any hummingbirds. I've only had like 3 sightings. I haven't gotten things planted yet. These pots are doing nicely. So what is this? First week of July, and it's been what? October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. 9 months since Helene. And I'm no longer immobile. We were gutted by the absolute tragedy. We took care of our mountain. We had 300 and I think it was 70 or 80 odd homes that were on the electric grid that were knocked out. I think it took them an obscene amount of time to get them replaced. So we have hostas all over the garden. Remember, we reallocated these hostas from another place in the garden and filled them in. I love this white and green over here. I've done a couple of things, but these come back by themselves. And aren't the flowers pretty? So the hostas are blooming all over the garden. And I'll show you a pan here. And all along the sidewalk, you can't see, we'll walk that in a moment. But these flower stems are like 3 feet. Okay. So in a woodland garden, we don't keep things, you know, as tailored, groomed. We let things, you know, find their own. Now see how nice that Lenten rose patch is getting? First year I moved in here, it was very sparse, and we had lots of babies that were coming up. And those babies can take 5 or 6 years to get, you know, 10 or 12 inches on them. But they stay green year round. And of course, you know, the flowers are beautiful for 3 to 4 months in January, February, March, something like that. I transplanted some of these azalea plants. This area really doesn't get enough sun. I tried to put more water in here. Okay. Now these are coffee cups. And these are a couple of years old, maybe almost 3. We kept them in the greenhouse during the winter, and they thickened up. Aren't they doing gorgeous? And of course, you see how the soil level has dropped at least 8 inches, You know, when plants are in pots, they need to be fertilized because the soil doesn't have the usual way of getting fertilized like maybe the soil would be in your garden. And it is my experience that the dirt just disappears. It's like the plants eat the dirt, break down the dirt and eat it. If you ever remember taking a plant out of a pot and it was all solid roots and there wasn't any soil to speak of. Oh, look at what we have growing along here. Such pretty little purple flowers. Oh, the impatiens reseeded themselves. Oh, look at that. They're coming up on their own. Oh, I bought flats and flats last year to plant in here. And they're coming up on their own. Now, this is what, the 1st of July. you know, if I had gone out and bought impatiens maybe the last week or two of April and planted out here, would have had a beautiful border, and it would have been, we would have enjoyed it for the last 2 months. But okay, here we have some more. We have impatiens breaking all throughout here. Okay, so probably by next month. Well, here's another patch. And of course, I can, if it turns out things in the garden there's places where they haven't reseeded themselves, I can pull these up and transplant them. Impatiens are incredibly resilient. Look at this beautiful, 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 beautiful. Now these hostas are very aggressive, and these are 6 years and they've tripled. So I think for every year they at least double themselves. And they'll get so thick they'll start crowding themselves out. Our neighbor across the street had a patch that was probably 20 or 30 feet deep, and his wife wanted them gone. So Larry and I went up and dug them all out and hauled them into the garden, and I planted them. I planted all this edging along here in preparation for the days when I don't feel like doing so much, right? You want things that are going to come back every year. And for the most part, this garden is like 40 years old, where my brother's garden, where they've spent most of their... See, there's that little green up there and all that mulch. Those are probably impatiens that are starting to come back. I think one of the reasons why everything is slow this year is because we've had lots of rain, and it's been cool. We've only had probably a half a dozen, maybe 10 days of sun that was in the 80s and maybe 92. But they were interspersed with lots of cloudy days and lots of cool. And I think the seeds must need a little bit of heat to take hold. You can see that the moss is Irish moss, and the Scots moss, which are not true moss, have done intermittently. I also went out in the woods and harvested a whole lot of moss in the beginning, real moss. But you know, some stuff takes. Now these hostas were put out. These hostas right here, when my sister-in-law first put them out, they were probably, the root ball must not have been, you know, more than 1.5 inches, 2 inches. They were very small plants, and they have, they're 10 times bigger than they were when she first put them out. And I have to tell you, I had no confidence at all that they were gonna ever be anything to speak of. That's why I was a little bit more aggressive with putting all this moss out here, Irish and Scotch moss, because, well, but I think the hostas are going to crowd out. This is, my purpose here was, you can see that there's this huge slope here down to this slate walkway, and the truth is the dirt has traveled, and there's probably at least 12 to 18 inches of dirt over the pathway. And well, I wanted to shore it up, but it's fairly successful. Okay, so this is our heuchera bed that is beginning to look more like a quilt of solid plants. You know, we love these beautiful burgundy ones, right? Because we love these, but they disappear in the garden. They're the same color as the dirt and the mulch. So unless you plant them up next to something like there, they just don't show up. But the thing about these heuchera and coral bells is that they also stay green, stay in color through the winter. So these have survived at least one winter. And they have a few leaves at the bottom that, you know, they die back. But it's the root ball. So you see, they're coming back fuller now. Now they're putting on more leaves and not so much root ball. Okay, I believe these are daisies. And these have been reseed themselves every year and come back on their own. And look at my hydrangeas. See, it's going to be a nice backdrop for this garden. I cut them back the first year, and I shouldn't have. It's slow. They have rebounded, but you know. These are pots inside of pots. Got wintered over in the greenhouse. What else shall I show you? Well, let's look at the garden from another view. Now, I have to tell you, I do not know the name of this. I think it's something like creeping juniper or something like that. It's an evergreen, and it's slow growing, and it's thick and about 6 to 8 inches tall. And I'm telling you, that's a good investment. Those colliers are supposed to be giant ones, 6 to 8 inches across in the diameter, but we'll see what happens with that. Those are hardy begonias or high geraniums, and those have reseeded themselves and come back. They dropped their seed pods from plants that were inside the pot. Here's another hydrangea. Oh, we have some fresh blooms on the phlox. Look at that. They're about 4 feet tall. And virtually no mold on them. Peonies are long gone. They bloomed early. Oh, isn't that a pretty view? The azaleas will bloom again late summer. Oh, a canna. We have a canna. My cannas have come back. Oh, and we have a white hydrangea in here. Isn't that fun? This is the first year it's bloomed like anything. So these cannas are doing relatively well here, but they don't really get enough sun. They don't really get enough sun. My brother has cannas that are 6 to 8 feet tall. That's an oak leaf hydrangea. You'll have multicolored leaves in the fall. Look at that. I don't know what that is, but that is the prettiest it's ever been. Oh. Our butterfly bush. Lots and lots of blooms, and those are at least 6 to 8 inches in length. This was the replacement from the one that died. The Christmas that it dropped to -2 degrees for 2 days in a row. Oh, the impatiens are coming back up here. Self-seeded from last year. And I think we have some travelers. Look at that, we have travelers. You know, before the great impatient plague that killed off all of the impatiens, They had self-seeded them all over my brother's garden, cascading down from here, growing in the grass in between the flagstones. It was absolutely incredible. That was like 18, 20 years ago, something like that. And so these are starting to do that as well. And isn't that beautiful? Okay, let's look at here. We've got some daylilies. So this curve of daylilies along here, it's beautiful, but yes, it helps to hold the soil in, because when it rains and water runs down the side of the mountain, it takes all the debris with it, and then you're left with red clay. So if you want to keep any of your topsoil or whatever, you've got to, well, the moss garden looks kind of pitiful, doesn't it? Oh, look at this, our hydrangeas, our French blue hydrangeas. Those were a gift. And I think these bloom all season, don't they? So when it rains, the blossoms get so full of water that they fall down. They fall down. Sometimes they come back and sometimes they don't. So my hibiscus should start blooming pretty soon. We have 3 up here. Some things are coming back on their own. Oh, we have some astilbe. I had sworn off of bare root, ordering bare root ever again with it because of these. But it's taken them 5 and 6 years to look like anything. And I think they were supposed to be bright orange. And I really don't think they're true to color. Well, so it's about 9:30 in the morning. The sun is starting to come up. It's probably like at 10 o'clock in the sky. It's cleared the top of the mountain, but it has to come through all the trees. And it's trying really hard to get to my garden here. In about another hour, it'll start to creep across the front part of the garden and walk its way down to the front. Oh, let's walk down and look at the angel trumpets. Here's another pot buried up here, and it has more coffee cups. The beauty about not planting things in the ground and leaving them in the pots, because we only have like a 6-month growing season, is that they're much easier to pull and take it to the greenhouse. This plant, we got the seeds when we went to Bullington Gardens, and it has the most It has fantastic foliage, but look at those flowers. And this is what they look like before they grow into a blossom. Those are more hostas that I planted along there from the neighbors. And see, they're very good at holding when you live on the side of a mountain with a steep grade, you got to terrace it. And you can terrace it. Oh, the gladiolus are blooming. You have to terrace it to hold the soil and the water in so it doesn't just wash everything away. Oh, leaf hydrangeas. Ah. A neighbor, elderly couple, I think they were clearing out their garden of daylilies and so forth and so on. And they gave us a couple of things. I don't know if we paid for this or they gave it to us, but it was, oh, can you see the gladiolus through there? Daylilies and gladiolus. You can see the burn pile. I'll have to have a controlled burn at some point. You know, nature does its own pruning after the storm. And here's my brother's cannas, and he's got those beautiful ones with the red leaves, and they're 4.5, 5 feet tall at least. And hydrangea's still in bloom. And here we have some angel trumpets. And you know, my brother, these things grow off 4 or 5 feet high every year. And he comes in and to take them into the greenhouse, he cuts them way back and they grow up fresh. Isn't that great? Again, we've had so much rain and cool that it has been really good for some things and not so much for others. We've all fallen in love with geraniums again because they just have so much color. Here's impatiens again that have self-seeded themselves. Let's see how beautiful those are. Let me turn that up. You know, I remember the first time I noted this plant decades and decades ago. It was in Pasadena at the Norton Simon Gallery. I think he married Jennifer Jones, or Jennifer Jones married him. You know, she was a big movie star. He was wealthy. And it was the first time in a garden I had seen trumpets. Now, look at these are getting ready to pop, and these came back on their own. This is partially open. Hummingbirds love this plant. So my brother's not planting vegetables this year. I've planted some tomato and cucumber plants and planned to plant herbs in here, but I need help with it, and that hasn't happened yet. Look at those glads. We've got hibiscus planted in front, and they'll have big red blossoms. They make great tea, you know. Oh, we have some yellow ones here, not just red ones. Okay, I have to watch my footing here. These have been here for maybe 6 to 7 years, and they're already starting to break down. Well, I want to thank you for joining me today on our little early morning garden tour. You could hear the birds singing. It's been said that the birds wake up nature with their songs. I like that idea. I like that idea. Oh, we can see a view through here. We have, let's see if we can get in close. We've got hostas that are blooming white and purple. Well, maybe lavender is a more accurate term, I don't know. Anyway, thank you for joining me today. Y'all have a great day.